Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I am going over my Arki game engine. I'm not really going over it, but I'm just gonna state what I've done. I'm not gonna really show you what I've done just because there's no real results yet because it's all back end stuff, right? And I will do a little bit of talking and a little bit of coding, but I won't really be explaining what I'm doing. Uh, But okay, so to get started, this is what I've done. So I've created a main engine class, right? A start, stops, basic stuff, and I have this initialization. What do I call it? Initialization system where I have this initializer interface, which has a pre-init, post-init, and init class default method. That throws just a normal Java exception. And essentially, whenever I want to create some sort of initializer, I can just place it inside of this init package. And this is for me specifically, but I just place it inside of this package called init, and then I do public class, and then um, I say it implements initializer, and then it is automatically registered. Oh wait, sorry. And then I have to register in this register initializers, and then from there it will automatically be registered. I might change that though. Might change the system because if I want to create a different initializer um, outside of the game engine and it's within the actual game, if a user is creating a game and they want to implement an initializer, they're not going to be able to access um, access this code, the game engine code. So just to let me specify the goals of this new project. All right. So goals of this project: one, create a game engine. But more specifically, one main goal is to, or the main goal is to create a game engine that provides tons of help when creating a game and is very easy to use. However, it does that while providing the least amount of code. Alright, so that's a little hard to explain, but I'm not sure if you understand that, but to to summarize it, I'm writing my game engine within this package called Arki.GameEngine. So I want to create as much help inside of this package, as many features in the game engine to help the user create a game as possible. But then, in the actual sample game package, I want it to contain as little code as possible. Is that as little code? Yeah, I think that's proper English. As little code as possible. Um, as few code? I don't know. As little code as possible. That way they have to actually create the game. So if I head over to my engine B, you can see if I close the game engine package, by default, a game will have an init package and a scenes package, and the sample scene, of course. And inside the init package, it provides the fonts, scenes, sounds, and textures, and they have to register. But all of this is pre-written. That can be a little confusing. Instead, I want it to only contain this one scenes file and then a reference file, and that's it. Nothing else. The rest, they just import textures, and then they have to deal with it, or not deal with it, and then they have to use one of the systems that I implemented to get a texture, right? But it won't have to be like initialized or anything inside of a package. Inside of a class, an initializer class. Anyways, so got our sample scene, our sample game, and let me just let me close Mark Core since it's not being used. And I think here I'm going to rename this to say game. Refactor, game dot sample game, right? So it's going to be two packages, game, not sample game. That's of course going to update. So, whoops. So over here, inside of this initialization class, let me just make this quick change. Actually, no, it's not in here. It's in scene manager. Over here, it's com.game. See if that works. That might throw an error. No, it did not. So, and I'll explain this in a quick second. Just make sure it prints that. It does not. Okay, so that's called com.sampleCompany.game. Okay, that works. Okay, so right now I just realized I have to change this, so I somehow need to get whatever the package name is here, and then .game, right? So let's see if I can do that. So what's going to remain constant? That way I can somehow parse out whatever string. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to do get class, and then I'm going to get the package name of the class, right? So the package name, get package name, versus get package returns the following string, package space, then the package, right? Get package name just returns the package without that package word in front of it. So get package name. So I'm going to get the package name, and that's going to return all of this somehow. And the reason why I need to do this is because this second directory, the second package called sample company, that's going to be changed according to the user's company, right? So we somehow need to separate these two packages while understanding that this is a placeholder for a company name, right? So what stays constant in this string? Well, the periods. So what I can do is, since this changes, I can say, all right, that's constant, but I'm going to split up this entire thing, and I'm going to count the amount of periods periods within the string. I'm going to split the string according to each period, because each period separates each package. So I'm going to do get package name, and let's see, I'm going to have to do split it right here on this first. So for now, I'm just going to say com.sampleCompany.game, right? And over here, I'm just going to do a string called package name. This is going to be temporary, just for me to figure out how I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this .get class .get package name, right? And then I'm going to say package name .split with a period, obviously. Escape meta character. Okay, one second. So I'm just gonna say string array called splits packages. This is all temporary, and it's saying suspicious regex. Alright, so I'm just gonna do that, hopefully. And then I'm just gonna loop through and the split packages. And package. How do you do this? PKG? Is that the abbreviation? I'm not sure. I'm gonna just do PKG or sout PKG system note out.print PKG. I'm gonna see what it returns. It should return the entire package on a new line. Alright. One folder for each new line. So now we know that this one is going to change. So we want to separate these first two packages, right? Because we need to specify the package without having a fixed name. We need to specify a specific package not by its name, but by its order. So now that we've got the split packages array, what we can do is say it's obviously always going to be the second one that we're using. So index 1 will be the last package that we're using. And then, okay, let me think about this. So it's going to be, let's create a string builder, shall we? And set that equal to new string builder. I haven't used string builders too much, so I'm not sure if I remember how to do this. And we can say and let's create a stray for loop, regular for loop, because we are going to want to iterate until smaller than 2. Iterate a specific amount of times. Let me just make sure this is right. I'm never quite sure how this iterates, so it should print twice. Yes, it prints twice. So let's do whoops, sb dot nope, sb dot append, and then we can say split packages index I, right? Yeah. Okay. And then we can say sb.toString plus dot game. Okay, that's redundant. Thought you had to convert it. And now I can remove this placeholder. That was just for me to think, and I can replace it with just that. And so this will get the package by hierarchy instead of name. Get the package of the game, not game engine by hierarchy instead of name, right? And then over here we can say scans specified package defined above, scans specified package for scene classes, scene for scenes, right? So let me just change this name to game package, or no. Alright, and now if we run it, it's not, wait. Yeah, it's for some reason not finding it. Root package plus dot game. See what that prints and see if it's correct. It should say, ooh, ooh, I forgot to append the period, because I forgot that. Okay, wait. Is there a way to do, okay, so, nope. So when you split it by a character, it's going to split it with each character that, of the specified character, right? So it's going to split it each time it encounters a period, but it also deletes that period. So I'm going to have to append that package plus a period, right? And okay, yeah, multiple appends, and then now we can delete this period right here. Now it should work. Yep, perfect. So now this waking process is called, or waking thing is called. So let me just zoom in a little so that you guys can see the package or the method I created. So what happens is I create a string array called split packages, because this is going to represent the package of the scene manager class, but split. So one string for each package or each directory. And so I create this split packages array, which is just equal to the package name, which is gotten from the class of this file, and dots split. So it's going to split the package name on each period that we got from the class from this file, right? And then it's going to create a new string builder called root package, because now we need to isolate the package that the game engine and the actual game have in common, right? Because the game engine and the game code is separated by two packages, but they share a parent package, and that parent package is com dot and then the company name, right? So that's why we're calling it root package. That's the string builder, that is the root package, and then we just need the first two indexes of the split packages, because those are the ones that the game and the game engine have in common. And then we just add that to the string builder. So now the string builder has the two package names, and then we just add this game package over, because that's going to stay constant, right? Over here in the game.sampleGame. The sample game, that sample game will be changed to whatever the game's name is called, and then but that game directory will stay constant. So, alright, so that works. So you can see that when I refactor this and say test game instead of sample game, and then I run it, and see it still prints out waking. As you can see, it still printed out waking. Now, the reason why that's important is because that waking is being called in the sample scene, right? And the scene isn't being initialized anywhere, except it is. A new instance of it is being created in this method right here, or in this constructor, because what it's doing is in the constructor of the scene manager, it is getting the root package, right? And it's getting the root package of, or the parent package, or the shared package of the game and the game engine, and then it is scanning that specific package for all classes that are a subtype of scene. So in other words, it scans for all classes with type scene. And this is something that I learned from my Mark Core project. I learned how to use a pom.xml file, and there's this dependencies thing that I learned how to use. So you just add this dependency within this dependencies tag, and the pom.xml file didn't originally have this dependency tag. I had to add it in, and then I just added these dependencies, and I had to reload Maven so that it would install or download all of those dependencies, or basically external libraries. And now we have this reflections package. But yeah, so all this method does is it scans the game, just the game, for scenes, and then for each scene that it finds, it creates a new instance of it, adds that instance to the scene manager, so registers it, and then it checks whether that specific scene has the annotation default scene. As you can see here, it has this default scene. And only one of these scenes will have it. And if it does, then it'll set that as a default scene, and that is the scene that the game will initially start with, right? So that's one of the ways how I'm reducing code inside of this game package. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure what I I've kind of forgotten what I have mentioned so far. But I created the display, the initialization, the input for mouse and keyboard. Oh, right, mouse and keyboard inputs. So this is a new system I created. I've been trying to figure out this system for a while now. Ever since I created my first game engine, because I had to create a representative or a variable for each key that I wanted to use. But of course, this is a game engine, so the person creating the game doesn't want to create a new variable for each key that they're going to use. They're just going to want to say get this key's state, right? Is it being pressed or not? I don't want to create a new key and then check if that key is being pressed. No, I just want to plainly outright get the key, skip all that stupid instantiation. So you can see if I go into my engine B, you can see that inside of my game engine package, the input, the key manager, I have this keys class which basically just stores a bunch of booleans, and each boolean here represents a different key on the keyboard, right? All of those just represent a key on the keyboard. And then in the key manager, I had to, add them manually to the this array of keys, and I had to write all this code to try to figure out when it's being pressed and when it isn't, and then yeah, it was very complicated and I hated it. So I brainstormed for a few days to try to figure out how to tackle a new key managing system, because I want it for the user to be as easy as going into the tickle method, saying if key manager dot on press, and then pass in just, let's say, key R, right? And then when that is pressed, it's going to print out R key was pressed, right? As you can see, this is how easy I wanted to make it. So then when I run it, when I press R, it just says key was pressed, right? And then if I wanted it to also detect when it's being released, all I had to do was pass in that key and then say R key was released, or whatever action you want to bind to it. So now I'm about to, whoops. Oh no, what happened? That's not good. On release R. Okay, this wasn't doing that before. So essentially the way I did this was I created this key object, and this had a state, a queued state, and a bunch of a key code and a key character. So the character is what is a character the key represented, and the key code is the key event that was associated with that key. And I would be able to pass in both, and then essentially when I wanted to, and this key state is just an enum. I learned how to use enums, and that determined what state it was on. And when you call the onPress, onRelease, onHeld methods, it's really just checking if the state is equal to the method that it's calling, right? And then if it is, then it just returns true. So for example, onPress, it goes through the keys array, it finds the associated key associated with the parameter, and then it checks if the key's state is equal to whatever state is specified. So in this case, I'm checking if it's being pressed, right? So then it checks if the state is equal to key state.pressed, and then if it is, it returns true. Right now, something is wrong. This was not happening before, which is quite odd. What if I go over here, paste that? If key manager dot on release k print out k is being released. Let's run that. Whoops, my bad. Run that. Oh no. Okay. Is it a problem with order? I don't think it is, but okay, no. Is it a problem with that specific method? Key event dot vkk. Yes, it is a problem with that method. Okay, so on release, so this is the integers, the character. What is the difference? Key if. Okay, let's just. Oh, whoops. This returns true no matter what. Alright, let's just check to make sure I didn't do that with any of the other ones. Return false, returns false. Okay, good. Okay, so that was my bad. I accidentally had it return true no matter what, even if the key wasn't being released, but okay. So, let's stop the program, go into the tick method, say if key manager dot on press character k out system dot out, we're going to print out if we're going to print out k is being pressed if key manager dot on release k, then we're going to print out k is being released. Right. So let's run this. Alright, click on the frame, scroll into that, and let's just take a look at this. So I'm about to press K and hold it down until I say otherwise, right? 3, 2, 1. So I'm holding down K, and you can see that it called, or that it returned true once, right? So now when I release it, it's going to say that it was released. I just released it, and it said it was released. So it only called it once, which was fairly difficult to do because I had to make it so that it set the state, the key's state to pressed, right? Set the key's state to pressed for one tick. So set it to press, waited one tick, and then on that second tick afterwards, it turned it back to idle. And this on press is completely different. Oh, and also, instead of just putting in that key, you can also do key event dot vkk. So if you wanted to use the key event instead of the actual character, you definitely have that option. I'm not sure why you would use this other than if you were trying to refer to like the key F5, which is not just one character, in which case you're going to want to use the key events, but you can see it works the same way. And actually, I'm not sure if that would work with this, so let's just test this out. This is going to be quite embarrassing if it doesn't. Just change this to F1. Run this. Okay, it does work. Perfect. So you would use a key event if the key keys character, if the keys character that is being represented isn't just one letter. If it's like F1, in which case it's two characters, and you would use a key event. Now, this is completely different from this method called isHeld, in which case it checks if a key is being held. So I'm just going to say the key is E. So if E is being held, then it's going to say, whoops, it's going to say is being held. It's going to say E is being held. So now, when I hold down E, it prints out E is being held, right? Very proud of this system, as you can see, but that's the key manager. And I did the same thing with the mouse manager, and then added a few things for the mouse moved. So when the mouse moves, I set the X move. So this negative here, I do this here and here. Essentially what that does is when you run JFrame, 0, 0 is the top left corner. So that basically just inverts it so that 0, 0 is on the bottom left hand corner. So that when you move the mouse up and to the right, that's increasing its X and Y, and when you move it down, that's decreasing its Y value, right? So that just converts the coordinate system on the JFrame to a regular coordinate system, where 0, 0 is on the bottom left-hand corner on the first quadrant, right? So, and then this just essentially, when you move the mouse, this sets the X move and the Y move, basically the velocity of the mouse, to the current mouse position minus this new, or the previous mouse position minus the current mouse position, so that just gets the distance that was traveled. That's basically the speed. And then we just reset the X and Y value of the cursor. And then same thing with mouse dragged, except the difference is that the mouse dragged is the same thing as moving it, except you only get the dragged if you're holding down on a button, right? So yeah, that's it. That's it for inputs. Project structure. It just writes in a text file in this libraries folder, the game info, which would be the name, the game ID, and the version. And it gets that information from this reference file, as you can see right here. This is all that information. And then once it just gets that information and then just writes in this text file. That's it. And it also creates these two directories, libraries and resources. And this is actually, if we go down here, I created a create directory method, which is something I had never done before, which literally just creates a directory. So that means that it can create a directory without creating any like text files or files in it. It just creates a regular directory. So it does this by getting the path of the directory, which includes the name, creates a new file called new directory associated with that path, and it checks whether that directory exists. If it does not exist, then it creates that new directory. If it does exist, then it just skips all of that and does nothing. What else? Showing you the scene manager. The scene info just that just holds the name and the scene ID of the scene. Scene class is fairly straightforward. That just holds a variable version, a variable instance of the name and the ID, which is gotten from the annotation that you make on the top of your scene, as you can see. Let's just delete these imports. You can see here I just added this @scene_info, then I add the name and the ID, and it automatically registers. So now whenever I want to get the name, I can just say this.id or this.name, right? Because those are variables. And if we go back to the scene class, scene object, you can see the constructor automatically does name equals, it sets the variable names to the annotation that we defined, or to the strings that we defined in the annotation. Has a wake and a start method. The awake method is called when the scene is registered into the scene manager, and the start method is called when the scene is switched to that scene. So, like, let's say so when you first start up the game, it's gonna register all of the scenes before anything happens. And so when that's registered, it calls the awake method, and then it sets the default method, right? Or the default scene, and then it calls that start method. So then when you switch to another scene, then it calls that the scene that's being switched to start method right here. And then sleep is just when that method is being switched from. So like the outgoing scene is called sleep method is called tick and render, obviously. Um, let's see, anything else? Nope, that's pretty much it. And I've spent quite a while on this video. 35 minutes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to do or talk about. So now next up is, of course, do the entity manager and that stuff. I do want to optimize the way I create this sample scene though. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna continue working on this. But see ya.